Now, as I understand it, Doug, you are you're going to give us some poetry. You're going to take us back to the early days of storytelling, when all storytelling was in the poetic form, and the scops would come into the towns like Carnegie, where they had the mead and the mead benches, and they would all gather around, and they would listen to the expert storyteller ply his voice like people can play a musical instrument. I'm really excited about having Doug here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Doug Claytor.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to come back to Pittsburgh again. I grew up in Pleasant Hills on the south side, and long ago left Pittsburgh, but through the miracle of Facebook, I've reconnected with old Pittsburgh friends and have been back here, and it certainly is a pleasure to be here. When my good friend John Puckett, who plays here regularly, said that tonight was storytelling night with a theme of love, that put me in a bit of a spot, because I don't know all of that much stuff that has to do with love in particular, but I've got a couple. And the first one I would like to recite is The Highwayman by Alfred Noyes. The wind was a torrent of darkness among the gusty trees. The moon was a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas. The road was a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, and the highwayman came riding, riding, riding. The highwayman came riding up to the old inn door. He'd a French cocked hat on his forehead, a bunch of lace at his chin, a coat of the claret velvet, and breeches of brown doe skin. They fitted with never a wrinkle. His boots were up to the thigh, and he rode with a jeweled twinkle. His pistol butts a twinkle, his rapier hilt a twinkle under the jeweled sky. Over the cobbles he clattered and clashed in the dark inn yard, and he tapped with his whip on the shutters, but all is locked and barred. He whistled a tune to the window, but who should be waiting there but Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love knot into her long black hair. And dark, in the dark old inn yard, a staple wicket creaked, where Tim, the ostler, listened. His face was white and peaked. His eyes were hollows of madness, his hair like moldy hay. But he loved the landlord's daughter, the landlord's red-lipped daughter. Dumb as a dog he listened as he heard the robber say, "One kiss, my bonny sweetheart, I'm after a prize tonight, and I shall be back with the yellow gold before the morning light. Yet if they press me sharply and harry me through the day, then look for me by moonlight. Watch for me by moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way." He rose upright in the stirrups. He scarce could reach her hand, but she loosened her hair in the casement. His face burnt like a brand as the black cascade of perfume came tumbling over his breast, and he kissed the waves in the moonlight. Oh, sweet black waves in the moonlight. And he tugged at his reins in the moonlight and galloped away to the west. He did not come in the dawning. He did not come at noon, and out of the tawny sunset before the rise of the moon, when the road is a gypsy's ribbon looping the purple moor. A red-coat troop came marching, marching, marching. King George's men came marching up to the old inn door. They said no word to the landlord. They drank his ale instead. But they gagged and bound his daughter to the foot of a narrow bed. Two of them knelt at her casement with muskets at their side. There was death at every window, and hell at one dark window, for Bess could see through her casement the road that he would ride. They had tied her up to attention with many a sniggering jest, and they bound a musket beside her with the barrel beneath her breast. Now keep good watch! And they kissed her. She heard the dead man say, look for me by moonlight. Watch for me by moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way. She twisted her hands behind her, but all the knots held good. She writhed her hands till her fingers were wet with sweat or blood. She stretched and strained in the darkness, and the hours crawled by like years, till now, on the stroke of midnight, cold on the stroke of midnight, the tip of one finger touched it. The trigger, at least, was hers. The tip of one finger touched it. She strove no more for the rest. Up she stood to attention with a barrel beneath her breast. She would not risk their hearing. She would not strive again. For the road lay bare in the moonlight, blank and bare in the moonlight, and the blood of her veins in the moonlight throbbed to her love's refrain. Trot, 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 had they heard it? The horse hoofs ringing clear. Trot, 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 trot in the distance. Were they deaf? Did they not hear? Down the ribbon of moonlight, over the brow of the hill, the highwayman came riding, riding, riding. The redcoats looked to their priming. She stood up straight and still. Trot, trot in the frosty silence. Trot, trot in the echoing night. Nearer he came, and nearer. Her face was like a light. Her eyes grew wide for a moment. She drew one last deep breath. Then her finger moved in the moonlight. Her musket shattered the moonlight, shattered her breast in the moonlight, and warned him with her death. He turned. He spurred in westward. He did not know who stood, bowed with her head o'er the musket, drenched with her own red blood. Not till the dawn he heard it. His face grew gray to hear how Bess, the landlord's daughter, had watched for her love in the moonlight and died in the darkness there. Back he spurred like a madman, shrieking a curse to the sky, with the white road smoking behind him in his rapier brandished high. Blood red were his spurs in the golden noon. Wine red was his velvet coat, and they shot him down on the highway, down like a dog on the highway. And he laid his blood on the highway with a bunch of lace at his throat. And still, of a winter's night, they say, and the wind is in the trees, and the moon is a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas. And the road is a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor. A highwayman comes riding, riding, riding. A highwayman comes riding up to the old inn door. Over the cobbles he clatters and clangs in the darkened yard. Then he taps with his whip on the shutters. But all is locked and barred. He whistles a tune to the window. And who should be waiting there but Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love knot into her long black hair. Thank you very much.
All right. So a night of stories, a night of poetry, just as it used to be, as it is today, and as it will be next month when we get together again for Story Night.